So junior year of high school, I transferred to Eastland Career Center because I wanted to be in their restaurant services program. The whole point of the program was to prepare you for working in a restaurant. It wasn't to master culinary skills and to learn all these techniques. It was to how to work in a functional restaurant. So even though we all thought that we were going to be these big chefs someday, really you were learning how to run a grill and a fry basket and how to be an expo, which is a person that gets the food from the kitchen to the server. So it was still really fun considering normal. The expo is the person who gets the food from the kitchen to the servers. Let me try to figure out how to reword that. They put all the food on a tray so that the server can take it out and make sure the order is correct. It was really fun though because normal high school you have classes all day, but at the Career Center you spend half your day in an actual mock kitchen, although we had a fake restaurant. And the teachers could come in and eat, or your parents could come in and eat. So one day I might be a waitress, the next day I might be the fry cook, the next day I might be the pastry chef. So it was really fun. It was a lot different than going to classes all day, which I was used to. I was the president of the FCCLA, which stands for Future Community Career Leaders of America. I wanted to do anything possible to have a good resume so that when I was applying for scholarships in college, I looked like I was an active person. Something else that was fun about Eastland Career Center was we went and did competitions. You talked about like swimming competitions and dance competitions. It was the same except you had to set the plate like your flatware. So you had 3 minutes and you had to set up a dining room table for 4 people exactly right. Or you might have a competition for napkin folding. Could you make 6 different things out of napkins in this amount of time the correct way? So could you make a swan? Could you make a fan? Could you make a candle? Like all these different napkin things. And then you would also have competitions on actual food, like make a dish, and you would challenge other vocational schools for that. At the time, you also had to put in actual time at a restaurant. So I worked at Grand Host East, which was on East Broad Street, and it was a banquet facility. I was a prep cook there and a server. And the reason you had to work in the restaurant field was they wanted you to have field hours, kind of like practicums now. Your teachers would come out and evaluate you on the job.
I have a question. Did you have to find your own jobs, or did they have a list of places where that you could?
Either.
Okay.
So you could find your own because there's so many restaurants of all calibers out there. But if you were too nervous to interview, they had people lined up where they would say, "I'm going to send you this student." So I worked at Grand Host East because I knew somebody that worked at Kroger as well as there, so I kind of had a way in. I also worked at Ruby Tuesdays. I was always somebody who had multiple jobs because I started becoming money hungry. When I worked at Kroger, I realized you can do things when you have money. You can go to the movies, you can buy clothes that aren't sweatpants and things like that. So I always wanted to have as many jobs as I could because I wanted money. My junior year is also when I met my first real boyfriend.
Whoa.
His name was Brian, and he and I became very close very quickly and decided to become sexually active. And as a result, I was going to the gynecologist to get on birth control and things like that, but I ended up getting HPV. And I was 17 at the time. And HPV, because I was smoking, and it also runs in the family, turned into cancer very quickly for me. And at 17, I was devastated. Like, devastated. I thought my life was over. And they were saying you can't have babies, you're going to probably have to have a hysterectomy by the age of 20. I just couldn't handle it. Emotionally, physically, I was a wreck. So I had to go to appointments every 6 months to have screenings or operations done, and as a result, I kind of ended up having a really bad attitude about life. I got this, I don't care, screw it all, I don't care about school, I don't want to be a chef, I don't care about boyfriends. I just want to go out and party and have fun because I have cancer, screw it all. And my grandmother had passed away from ovarian and uterus cancer. My aunt passed away from cervical cancer. So it runs in the family anyways, then let alone increasing it with HPV and smoking. I just felt like I had a death sentence anyways. So my attitude was pretty crap after that. So that's why I was like, senior year, and it says college, what happened? I went to the Career Center because I knew that I wanted to get into Columbus State for their culinary program, but between cancer, my parents decided they were getting a divorce. I didn't handle that very well either. I didn't really overly care, but it just made my normal life it was destroyed, and there was no stability in our daily lives. And then I said cancer, 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 because that was just never ending. It was so new, and it was so vivid right then, that was all I really cared about. It seemed like every other week I was getting test results, or going for blood work, or having surgery, or homesick because I had had surgery, or trying this new medication. And even though I had really good grades, I had a terrible attitude. I just didn't care anymore. I really didn't. And so I was the president of those clubs at school, and I just didn't show up for my responsibilities anymore. I didn't want to go to competitions. I just didn't care. So I still managed to get myself a full ride scholarship to Columbus State's culinary program. So even though I had this bad attitude, I knew that there was other things that I had to try to do, and I'm sure part of it was my parents saying, you still need to go to school, you still need an education, you still need to go to college. So I did everything I could to apply and write essays, and I ended up getting accepted into Columbus State. They were paying full ride for everything because of my credentials, and my GPA was a 4.0 from sophomore year till senior year. So as excited as I was, 3 weeks before I graduated high school in the Career Center, that good friend Sadie that I always got into trouble with, she had my car keys because we would get out of school at like 2:30, but she would always leave school at 2:15. I don't know how or why. But she had my car keys, and it was she would go outside, sit in the car, listen to music. If it was snowing, she would thaw out the windows or whatever. But I get pulled out of class right before the end of the day, and I am told by the security guard that my car has just ran into the principal's car.
Oh, jeez.
And I had no idea what had happened, what was going on. But since that happened, Sadie and I both got suspended. My parents tried to fight it, but because she had my keys, it was me saying that I was giving her permission, and it was my vehicle. So therefore, I was suspended, and I lost my scholarship to Columbus State 3 weeks before graduation. And that was also a pretty big factor in Sadie and I's friendship diminishing. I hated her. It wasn't really her fault per se that I lost my scholarships, but as a result of her actions, I was pissed. So
how did she run into his car?
Apparently she thought she could drive. I don't even know what happened. I don't know where his car was, but I know that she backed up and got his front end to the point where it damaged in like his motor. It wasn't just like hit the side of his car. She actually did damage to like the engine, so that's why it was like this big deal. It wasn't just a fender bender. And the fact that it wasn't her car, she didn't have a license. It was during school hours. So I was like, oh great. So my parents tried really hard to get that dropped so that it wouldn't go on my permanent record, but the school wasn't having it. So then I wasn't going to college, so then I was really shitty, or really bad attitude, because I'm like, I don't have a scholarship, I'm not going to college, I have cancer, my parents are getting divorced, I hate you all, everybody should die. So I really did not like life at that point. So after high school, I met Jeff, who was my second real boyfriend, and I met him actually at Ruby Tuesdays. He was a cook there and I was a server, and he was really good about the whole cancer thing. He helped me a lot through it, and especially through my parents' divorce. He was kind of that support person, and we started as friends who would just talk at work, and we ended up becoming together. We dated and lived together for 7 years.